Far Cry 5's arsenal was really lacking at launch, and Ubisoft wants to rectify that with Far Cry 6, which basically brings a ton of weapons from Far Cry 5 and the previous games forward, adds some new ones, and of course also next to that we got the brand new revolver weapons that are a ton of fun to use. So in this video I want to go over all the weapons in Far Cry 6 that we could see in the menu. There are already some weapons that we know about that are not in the menu, but most weapons, I would say like 95%, were already shown, so I want to go in depth on them. I also want to quickly touch on how you earn weapons in this game, so if you like the Far Cry content here on the channel and cannot wait for the game, then totally leave a like of course on the video to show your support, and let's go. I am doing an Ultimate Edition giveaway for Far Cry 6 on your platform of choice, and you can enter if you want via the link in the pinned comment. You have to be a subscriber of the channel if you want to participate, and I will announce and reach out to the winner just before launch. In Far Cry 6 you can have 3 primary weapons with you at all times and 1 sidearm, and you can very easily switch between them on the fly with the familiar weapon wheel. At any point you can equip other weapons you already have, but if you want to customize and upgrade them, you need to find a workbench in the special home base, for example. They also appear in Outpost after you've taken them over, and sometimes you just find random workbenches in the world. In terms of customization, and I want to go way more in depth on this in a future video, but just in short, you can think of attachments, bullets, mods that enhance your weapons in interesting ways, but there are also cosmetic options like trinkets and skins you unlock with a special spray resource. You can buy some weapons outright at arms dealers that also appear after having taken over F&D bases, but you can also earn new weapons from chests in the world. In the menu, it's noted that regular weapons are found in military controlled zones, or that you have to build a guerrilla garrison camp facility, which is in one of your home bases, and it opens up a weapon shop, and this has a bigger selection, and you can use the Yaran currency to buy weapons here. But you can again also find weapons in the world, but it seems to be random. Like here I got the M60 NV light machine gun, but when I looked at footage from other people, they got a different rank 2 gun in this chest. Interesting though is that we got the ARC from this treasure hunt, and in the legacy gaming footage they got the weapon there too. So it could be that some chests just give a random rank 2 weapon, for example, while other chests have dedicated drops. We do know that the special unique weapons do have their own dedicated drop spot, because they have their own dedicated text as well as to where you can find them. Overall, exploration is just way more rewarding in Far Cry 6 compared to Far Cry 5, for example, where almost all the weapons were bought with money at the vendors. And one more important thing to note before we look at all the weapons is that these unique weapons cannot be customized. They have their own set mods and attachments, and also their own unique skin. So likely very early on, if you don't have all the mods unlocked yet, it's like nice to use them, but I would imagine that later on in the game it's better to use guns that you can fully customize. Again, I will go more in depth on all the mods and customization in a future video, so subscribe to stay up to date on everything Far Cry 6. Let's start with the revolver weapons. You can unlock those by reaching a specific rank and then buying them from one of the arms dealers and spending the necessary uranium. So that's a different currency that is needed for the regular weapons you can buy. You get the Tosador flamethrower for free as your first revolver weapon from the main quest. Not much to explain regarding this one, because it's a flamethrower that burns everything in your path. Next up is my favorite revolver weapon so far, the El Muro, a gun with a shield, so you can also protect yourself from incoming bullets. And I was surprised by the amount of damage you deal to enemies from close range as well, so it's a really interesting way to play Far Cry 6. The La Clavadora is a catapult gun that impales enemies. It's really satisfying to use. The only problem is that the reload takes a really long time, so keep that in mind. The El Besito is similar to the flamethrower, but now you shoot poison, which looks red in this game. I really like that, but the gun wasn't that strong in the short time that I used it. Maybe it changes when you like upgrade it. We also got the Pyrotechno gun, which the firework rocket launcher we saw briefly in older B-roll footage. It dazzles and destroys enemies. The nail gun is of course also a resolver weapon. Good to note is that this weapon is silent, so perfect if you want to go in stealth. And I was pretty impressed by the Zozito. Like, don't use it on enemies, but if you use it against vehicles, it will disable them like I did here with the helicopter, and then bam, you take it out. It's a very easy and satisfying way to deal with these aircrafts. We also got that machine gun made from a motor engine, and the La Sorpresa, an explosive sniper rifle with a single shot, and I really can't wait to use that one. The La Farita is an item you get from completing a special Yaren story mission. This weapon can shoot through walls, which sounds kinda crazy. So we see 10 resolver weapons in the menu, and we already know that one is missing. That's the disc launcher with the Macarena song we of course saw when they revealed the gameplay. So this is a pre-order exclusive weapon, and that's why it's not likely part of the menu here. They might add it later on through the Ubisoft Connect section of the game, like they do with other pre-order bonuses for other games too, but that might be like a few months after launch. So if you immediately want to use this launcher, you have to pre-order the game. We also know that the special Rex items will be part of the season pass, so the signature gun and rifle that we see here will also not show up in the menu yet. We do see a ton of other rifles though, the 4570T, again from Far Cry 5, and the AK-47, which a rank 1 rival here, which is interesting. We have another variant, of course, of that weapon later on. The mid to long range Val from Far Cry 2 is back in Far Cry 6. And the MS-16 rival has been with us for many games and is now also in Far Cry 6. The AKM is a rank 2 weapon in Far Cry 6, while in Far Cry 5, variants of this gun were like the most expensive guns and best you could get. I'm sure it's still great in Far Cry 6. Again, the ARC is back. Of course, that's the first rifle you pick up in Far Cry 5, and that most of the Peggies are using as well. Then we got the BP2, which is back. This weapon was added post-launch to Far Cry 5, so it wasn't available when you played the game when it came out. I quite liked it when they released it. And we also got the BP RUC, which is new, I think. So pretty cool that they added that. And of course, if I mispronounce any of these names, let me know in the comments down below. Totally possible. The M16A1 is also in the game at launch. This was added with the Vietnam DLC in Far Cry 5, and I really liked using it. We got the AS Val, a new one I think, and it has a built-in suppressor, which is going to be very handy. The MS-16 is a familiar one from Far Cry 3. It was also in Far Cry 4 and Far Cry 5. And we're now at rank 4, the SKS. It's also new from the looks of it, a very stable mid to long range rifle. And the final rank 4 rifle is the SSGP-58, which I also can't wait to try out, because I also think this is a new one. Next up is that BP SMG I talked about earlier with the makeshift silencer, and yes, when you unlock these weapons, you will see the stats in the menu, while when just browsing through the menu, you won't. When you are like looking at weapons to purchase though, you will see the stats before you can spend the currency, which is nice. The BZ-19 was already in Far Cry 3, 4, and was added with the zombie DLC to Far Cry 5, and was actually also in Far Cry New Dawn. The MP40 that was added with Far Cry 5 and was also in New Dawn is also in Far Cry 6. And of course, the MP5K is back here too. Would actually be weird if it wasn't here. Love the MP34, which was added to Far Cry 5 later on. Especially the reload animation is just super unique. So glad that it's back. We got the PPSH-41. Is of course familiar with the unique magazine, but I think it's new to Far Cry, although correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below. And we also got the rank 4 submachine gun, which is also new, the MP7. So a lot of the new weapons are the best like rivals and SMGs in Far Cry 6. For the light machine guns, we start with the RPD, a new one. The M60 is of course a familiar LMG if you played Far Cry 5. We got the MG21, which a new one I think. It looks awesome. The M249 is a familiar LMG from the older games. It was also in Far Cry 5 and is now a 4-star gun in Far Cry 6. And the MG42 from Far Cry 4 and was added as a post-launch weapon to Far Cry 5 is now also back and likely turns out to be the best LMG in Far Cry 6. For snipers, we start with I think a new one, the SRA. Looks pretty awesome with the makeshift scope, but you can of course change that if you want. We got the 308 carbine from Far Cry 5. Never really used it in that game. I like the SVD, namely a lot more. And we of course know this from the previous games too. It was added with the Vietnam DLC to Far Cry 5. So all the weapons from that Hours of Darkness expansion are day 1 in Far Cry 6. And the rank 4 sniper is the MVP.50 with no scope here, but there are a lot of options when you unlock the weapon. For shotguns, we also got a ton of familiar ones, like the 1887 Sawed-Off. The M133 is back, and also the SBS from Far Cry 5. The Spets 12 is also in Far Cry 6, but now as a rank 2 weapon, while in Far Cry 5 it was really one of the best weapons in the game, killing almost everyone instantly. Now we got the KSG shotgun, which is a brand new shotgun for as far as I know. And we also got the RMS-18. So again, new weapons that were added in Far Cry 6 seem to be the best in their categories. We got 2 bows as per usual, and you know both of them likely already. The recurve bow is back and the compound bow is the rank 3 bow. I found a special version of this bow, by the way, in the world, the Bullseye. There are more RPGs though, starting with the familiar M79 grenade launcher. The RPG-7 with that familiar reload animation is also back in this game. And I think the one we see here is the one we could find in Far Cry 5 in the world with the unique skin, but then sadly not add to your arsenal. The MGL-6 grenade launcher, I think, is new, cannot wait to use it. And of course, the Red 4 is back. I really hope with the awesome cluster ammunition and stuff. And again, you also have sidearms in a different tab, so you can carry 3 main weapons and 1 sidearm. And let's start with the M9 pistol, which is a rank 1 pistol in Far Cry 6. You actually start the game with the PMM pistol, which you find on the beach, and the 1911 is of course also back. Not sure if we ever had the Mark 6. The Mark 4 was, I think, in Far Cry 4, so we can now get the 6 in Far Cry 6. Yes, the Desert Eagle is in Far Cry 6 at launch, and it's not called the D50. It was added later to Far Cry 5, and it was, like, insanely powerful. A longer range shotgun, also killing enemies from pretty far away instantly. So, curious if it's still as strong in Far Cry 6. And we also got the P226 from Far Cry 5 and New Dawn as the other rank 4 pistol. For auto pistols, we got the Scorpion, of course. There's also the SMG-11 and the 6P13 auto. And there are some cool variants of those guns too. And if you want to see like all the weapons that we saw in the menu, then totally check out my video on my second channel, where I go over all of them without the voiceover. There are timestamps there, so you can like easily look at them if you want. A link to that video will be in the pinned comment. Again, there are likely more weapons in Far Cry 6 that we just don't know about yet. So when we know more about it, I will of course let you know here. So subscribe for way more Far Cry 6 videos. Still got more gameplay to share too. If you like the video, then totally leave a like. And you can check out our big Far Cry 6 video on the massive world map by clicking on the screen. For now, I will speak to you next time, and goodbye.